So unfortunately, I don't have a real electric guitar for this Trolls World Tour review. The closest I could find was this, my old Guitar Hero 3 controller for the Wii. Do you ever have any of these, anything like this? But anyway, let's talk about Trolls World Tour. Hey everybody, Bloodman Bob here. So, sorry it's been a while since my last video. I think by the time I upload this, it'll have been around 1 full week since I did my last video. I've just been spending the last week getting used to my new job, and I'm actually starting to like it now, and I found that I actually have quite a flexible schedule, so I'll still be able to make videos for this YouTube channel. It may not be as frequent as it was over the last couple of months, but I've still got plenty of time. And so today we are going to be talking about Trolls World Tour. I'm really glad I'm doing this review closer to when the movie was released. It came out both in theaters and on video on demand services. I will say, if you do want to check out this movie, you can rent it on iTunes, but it's going to cost $20, $19.99. And I think the reason it is because the studios are trying to make up for the cost of how a lot of people aren't going to movie theaters due to the concerns of the coronavirus. So keep that in mind. Hopefully the price does go down. It may take a while, but just keep in mind it'll cost $19.99, around $20, and it'll be a 48-hour rental. So just to keep that in mind, because I know a lot of people are really mad that the rental price is rather expensive on iTunes. But anyway, before I get into Trolls World Tour, I figure I take a second to talk about the first Trolls movie, since I didn't do a review of it. I think it came out before I rebranded my channel as Bloodman Bobby. So I thought the first Trolls movie was okay. Like, I liked some of the song sequences, and I thought the ending, it had its good moments, and I really enjoyed the musical sequences more toward the ending. It's just that I thought the beginning was, it kind of got on my nerves with some of the more modern jokes, but I thought the movie, it had its good intentions and a few good song sequences. So I wanted to point that out there. I know that my Trolls World Tour trailer reactions have been doing quite well for me, and I am glad to hear from other perspectives and to hear from, to see that these movies have been doing well. Oh, and I really welcome, old Trolls fans to my YouTube channel. It's just that I'm, a person who, whenever I make these videos, I'm not here to tell you, you have to like this or you have to dislike that or anything like that. Like, I personally don't do that with my videos. I've had people throughout my life act that way, and I personally can't stand it. I make these videos just to speak my mind. These are my personal opinions, and I'm not forcing you to believe what I say. It's just that, I am just speaking my mind. I'm just as critical when it comes to even franchises that I really like. Most notably, like, my YouTube channel name is Bloodman Bobby, and I'm a big Star vs. the Forces of Evil fan, but I wasn't the biggest fan of the Star finale. So that's how I am. I just personally like speaking my mind. If you really like the first Trolls movie, more power to you. One of my greatest helpers for this YouTube channel is a friend of mine on Twitter, Speed4Spectre. I really appreciate his help. We've been helping each other out with our channels lately, and it's been in good fun. So yeah, we totally respect each other, and I respect your opinions. If you'd like to check out Speed4Spectre's review of Trolls World Tour, I'll have it linked down below in the description. But anyway, let's get into Trolls World Tour. And I actually like this movie quite a bit better than the first Trolls, if I'm being really honest. I thought it was more of a consistently good movie. I really like how it told its story. I really liked how the characters were working out their problems in this film, and I thought it was more consistent. It's just that I wished it spent some more times on certain character details here and there, which I'll get into in this review. Let's talk about the premise of this movie, because we can't talk about a movie without knowing what it's about. So in Trolls World Tour, the villain of this movie, her name is Queen Barb, and she's the queen of the Hard Rock Trolls, and she wants to take over all the other troll nations. There are the troll nations. There's funk, country, pop, classical, techno, and heavy metal. And as I said, Barb is from the heavy metal one, and she wants to take them all over. It kind of reminds me of Avatar: The Last Airbender in that sort of way. So the heroes of our movie, Poppy and Branch, played respectively by Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake, have to go and stop her. What Poppy wants to do is she wants to take a much more peaceful and friendly approach, and she wants to befriend and Barb, while Branch is on the more defensive side and is more concerned about how dangerous the hard rock trolls can be, and he wants to, get ready for battle and that sort of thing. But yes, the story is about stopping Barb from taking over all the other troll nations, and it does have the general message of this movie is one of acceptance, like, accepting each other despite each other's differences. Let's talk about what I liked about this movie, because there's quite a few things that I liked in this film. I really liked how they introduced the different troll nations. I really had a lot of fun watching them. They explained themselves by playing different songs, like the Techno Nation, for instance. It introduced itself with this really colorful party where everybody's jumping around and dancing to Daft Punk's One More Time. I'm a big Daft Punk fan myself. The Country Nation is a lot more mellow, and they get together and sing this really kind of sad sounding country song. And the classical one, they're run by this Beethoven looking person and puts together this great orchestra. So it's a lot of fun to watch these, and I thought that they did a really good job of establishing them. I thought the exposition was done really well in this movie, and I really liked how this movie really took its time to teach this lesson of tolerance. Like, yes, at its core, it's a lesson that we've seen before, but what I liked about this movie is it really took its time, and it shows that it's not as easy as it seems. It's a lesson that Poppy has to learn. Like, she learns that not all these troll nations use music as a way of feeling happy about themselves. She learns, for instance, that the Country Nation expresses themselves through this really sorrow song. By the way, speaking of which, I do really like the character designs in this movie. Like, I like how the Country Nation, for instance, the trolls there are kind of like these centaur-looking characters. The upper parts of their bodies are, they look like the trolls we've seen, but their legs are kind of like, they have the four horse hooves, and I thought that was quite creative. So Poppy herself has to learn that, everybody has their differences, and she actually has to learn to listen to others. And I can understand where she's coming from. She has really good intentions. At first, she wants to actually have a party with Barb and the Hard Rock Trolls rather than sees them as enemies that she has to, fight and take down in a really violent fashion. So I could understand where she's coming from, but she has to learn to, listen to others, in particular, listening to her friend Branch, for instance, and acknowledge that these hard rock trolls are a threat. She has to acknowledge that, yes, they can be dangerous, and they're not going to be easily persuaded to lower their defenses and stop their invasion of all the other troll nations. So I thought that was a really great lesson that she has to learn herself. Just as much as how Barb has to learn that she can't just take over all the other troll nations and turn them all to hard rock trolls, Poppy has to learn that not every troll uses music as a way of feeling better about themselves. Some of them, yes, there's, obviously ones like the techno trolls, they have a lot of fun dancing to One More Time. But for instance, the country trolls use music as a way of expressing more mellow emotions, and I thought that was a really great lesson for her to learn. And she even so she learns that it's not that easy because everybody has their own differences, even among her friends. And she also learns that the pop trolls in particular have kind of a dark history that's sort of parallel to the hard rock trolls in a sense. Like, I won't get into any details on that because that's really spoilery. It's actually, I thought that was actually a pretty decent twist that I didn't see coming. So I thought that was really well done. And when you see the movie, you'll find out more what I mean. I don't want to give more details on that because that's quite a big spoiler, and from what I've seen, that wasn't really covered in the trailers. But I'm glad that's something surprising that I didn't see coming. So there's a lot to like in Trolls World Tour. In terms of what I didn't like about this movie, It still has the more modern trolls jokes that I wasn't really a big fan of in the first film, and it kind of got on my nerves in the first act. Here in this movie, it's not as it's not as big a presence. It's kind of more sprinkled in, especially at the beginning. I thought like some of the modern jokes could get kind of on the nose. Like for instance, there's a scene where Poppy's father says, the trolls from the other nations, they don't even know the concept of hammer time, and all the pop trolls like start doing a hammer time dance, and I thought that was kind of a corny joke. And there's another scene at the beginning of the movie where this Cloud character is introducing this movie, and he's telling the story through his smartphone while riding on this realistic looking dog. And so I thought it kind of reminded me of something like I would see on social media. So when they do the more modern jokes, it doesn't really work out for me too well. Gets on my nerves, but it doesn't ruin the movie in any sense. Like it's just kind of sprinkled in more, especially at the beginning. It's something that, I could personally really look past. Other issues I have with this movie, I thought some of the confrontation scenes were done a little too quickly. So for instance, Barb has these bounty hunters that are actually trolls that come from even more music genres. So like her bounty hunters come from the genres of smooth jazz, K-pop, reggaeton, and yodeling. And yeah, I remember I said in the trailer, I thought it was kind of funny that the scene with the smooth jazz troll was really trippy, and that was actually a scene where I thought the modern kind of sense of humor really worked because it fits in this kind of unsettling yet it yet kind of hypnotizing, comfortable kind of scene. But in that scene, that ends a little too quickly. Like, yes, there's a scene where they trip out, but it gets resolved by one of the characters kicking the smooth jazz troll into the water, and that's it. There's another scene where the K-pop and reggaeton trolls like ambush Branch, and it looks like they're gonna have a dance battle, which we do see them dancing around. But then it ends when Branch is like, hey, we should just, it goes into the message of, hey, we should, all the music genres should be allowed to be, and that kind of stuff. They shouldn't all be taken over. So those scenes I thought ended a little too quickly. And another thing that I think could have used some explanation actually was the bounty hunters themselves. Like, yes, the bounty hunters are intended to be more side villains, but I thought they were like some aspects of them got kind of confusing. Like I was wondering, so do they have their own nations, for instance? Because the movie is like pretty firmly establishes that the nations in this troll world are the funk, country, pop, classical, techno, and heavy metal genres. So I was wondering, is there a smooth jazz nation? Is there one for the yodeling trolls, for instance? And I also kind of wondered if Barb wants to take over this entire troll world and conquer these nations, then how come she's working with trolls that come from like very distinctly different music genres? Isn't that kind of counterintuitive to her plan of just, turning everything into hard rock? And so I thought that was kind of confusing. Although in this movie's defense, what I was thinking is maybe it kind of has to do with Barb's own insecurities. Because the thing is that she admits that she feels really lonely as a queen, and she seems to have trouble making friends because she thinks it takes too long for a friendship to develop. So is she like unaware that even she has to rely on trolls from like other nations herself? And that kind of thing. That was what I wasn't really sure about. I actually talked to my friend Speed for Spectre about this. He's a really big fan of Trolls himself, and I hope he had a good time with this movie. And I asked him about these questions, and in terms of, do the bounty hunters, do they come from their own troll nations? And what he was thinking is it's possible they may come from like nations that are smaller than the ones that are established from the movies, and so that was why Barb was able to get them into being her bounty hunters. And Speed for Spectre thinks that they'll go into more detail on the Trolls, the sort of television series, the upcoming Trolls series, Trolls Topia, I think it's called, which is going to be on Hulu and NBC Universal's Peacock service. So I hope that's explained in that series. I do wish that it was better explained in the movie itself, especially since I'm here, critiquing the movie itself. I'm not here to talk about the Trolls franchise entirely. So I think it really would have helped out the movie if they would have, like, explained things, like, explain, maybe went into even more detail about, this, about, do the bounty hunters, do they come from their own nations, like making it more clear, making more details about the world of the Trolls a bit more clear in this movie. But I thought overall Trolls World Tour it was a entertaining movie, and it had its good ideas and some really fun musical sequences, and I give this movie a lot of credit for it. In terms of how I would rank this movie, I'm actually going to start doing a thing where instead of giving a movie a numbered score like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, what I'm going to start doing is ranking these movies from down to whether I hated this movie or I thought it was okay, to saying if I thought it was good, to saying I really loved this movie. And for Trolls World Tour, I would rank it somewhere between I thought it was okay and me really liking this movie, because I thought this movie was a decent film. It was fun to watch, and I'm glad that I saw it. I just wish that it spent a little more time establishing some of its details. So, okay, so that's my thoughts on Trolls World Tour. I'm glad that I got to see this movie. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Did you really like this movie? Did you not like it? Did you not like it as much? Leave all those thoughts down below. Tell me if you thought this was better or not as good as the first Trolls movie. Leave all those thoughts down below. Until next time, this has been Blood Moon Bobby, and thank you all for watching. Hi everyone, thanks for watching this Blood Moon Bobby video. Like and share the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel to see more of my videos, and ring the bell to be notified about my latest uploads. Don't forget to follow me on social media for my latest opinions and video updates. I hope to see you next time.